Coughing, clearing throats, hiccups, goodness me. Hi, welcome to episode 4 of Meridittle Makes, the podcast. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you're new, hi, I'm Mary and I am a knitter, fabric artist and aspiring knitwear designer coming to you from Bristol in the UK, and I talk about moving slow and making things. Alright, so you might notice that I have slightly different sound this week. I'm testing out a new little external microphone, so if I sound a bit different, that's why. Hopefully it's better than last time, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. My podcast follows a pretty straightforward format if you haven't been here before, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some finished objects, then I'll talk about what I'm working on right now, and then I'll end with just some chatter, which might be things I'm planning to cast on, it might be just general thoughts about the knitting community, all sorts of things in the chatter segment. So I'll start off with finished objects. I only have one, this episode, I only have one to show you, and it's not the one I was planning to have to show you. So you haven't seen these at all. It's a pair of socks. It's hopefully the next pair of socks to come out. So the testicle for these will be open soon. But it's not the pair of socks that I've been talking about for the last 2 episodes. So if you've seen the last 2 episodes and you were looking at the flock socks, they are still coming. But I have some quite specific ideas of something I want to do with them, and it's taking a bit of calculation and a bit of time. So in the meantime, I had another idea, and I got this beautiful yarn from Nervous Fibre, which I talked about the fact that I'd ordered it last episode. And as soon as it arrived, I just had to make it into something. It was so amazing, and I'm really excited about it. So I want to show you the Bird of Prey socks. I have got one on a blocker up there, which I'll show you in a second as well. But this is the stitch pattern. I'll put some close-ups in. I've done my podcasting properly this time, and I've taken some footage and photos, which I'll insert here. But this is 100% Corriedale non-superwash yarn from Nervous Fibre, and it's beautiful. The main colour is very kind of spun burnt gold colours, which I really like. And then I also got 2 little minis of this beautiful kind of bottle green, and then a dirty pink as well, which I have put a tiny bit in to this sock, but I'm going to use the dirty pink for another pair of socks. The beauty of having small feet is that in a 100-gram skein plus mini skein, I can usually get 2 pairs of socks out of that for myself. So yeah, that's the handy thing about having very small feet. But yeah, they knitted up beautifully, really, really quickly. I'm really happy with them. They follow a very similar format to the Little Wing socks, but there is a different heel construction for these. So although it looks very similar from far away, this is actually a mock short row heel, which is something I haven't really done very much. I think I'd done it once before, but I wanted to do something that wasn't just a standard German short row heel. And I really love it. I love how it's come out. It's hard. There's no holes. I find with German short row heels, for me personally, I'm not that good at the double stitch, and I often get holes kind of at this point where you're decreasing one side and then increasing up the other side, and where they come together, I always find I get little holes there. So I've been really enjoying the mock short row heel. It's the same toe as the Little Wing socks, so it's a yarn over increase toe construction. They are toe up. And then we've got a really cute little cable cuff, which is a 3x1 rib with a cable detail in it. And then for each sock, let me take this one off, so you can see the cables actually go in the opposite direction on each sock. But I really love them. I think they're really, really cute. So the call for testers for these will be going out shortly. I've almost finished tech editing them, so that will be coming out for testing very soon. And then I'm hoping to release the flock socks for testing in March. So yeah, all the sock patterns. I'm really loving this stitch, and I need to do all the things with it. So yeah, the Bird of Prey socks is my only finished object for this time, but I'm really thrilled with them. So now I've shown them to you, I can wear them, which I'm very excited about. Really quickly, what I'm wearing, this jumper is not hand knit. It was bought in a charity shop. I think originally it's Topshop, if I remember rightly. I can't remember. I got it for 50p in the RSPCA in Stroud when I was about 18, and I love it. I've had it for many years. I've fixed it a couple of times, and I love it. Yeah, I think it's cotton. There's no stretch to the fibre at all, so I'm pretty sure that it's cotton. And yeah, I really like it. I've worn it a lot. There we are. But hand knit socks wise, I am wearing, I'll stick my foot up, but I will also put in a photo for you. These are the Candy Bar socks by Dolly Lasham. I'm trying to remember what her handle is. I'll put it in the show notes. She's absolutely incredible. I think she's a really underrated designer. Personally, I haven't heard about her that much in the knitting world. I don't hear about her very much, but she's really fantastic. Does some really interesting stitch patterns, lots of really textural and fun things that she does with her stitches. So highly recommend going and checking her out. This is my original pair of Candy Bar socks. In my first episode, I did talk about the fact that I was working on another pair, and I just completely messed up the gauge on them. I forgot that I need to knit colourwork socks on a bigger needle size, of course, because they're colourwork. And I made them way too small and too tight to get on even my tiny little feet. So yeah, they unfortunately had to get frogged, and they got made into a different pair of socks, which you will have seen. But I will definitely be making more of these in future. I really enjoy them. They're very sturdy as well because they're colourwork, and they're effectively just like one by one with some fanciness. But yeah, they're really sturdy. They've held up very well. I'm actually thinking about doing like modifying them slightly so that I can incorporate the tread heavy heel turn, because the one thing I have found is that I have fixed the heels on these. I've used my Speed Weaver, this little guy here. If you haven't seen these, don't know what they're for, I'll link a video. There are a couple of really good videos on how to use them, but effectively it's just it's like a little mini loom, so you can make a woven fabric over the top of any holes in your knits. Super handy, really quick. Yeah, I have used it quite a lot on socks, particularly for my husband. So yeah, that's probably all the sock chat for this time round. And then let's talk about whips. So I'm going to show you my Birch sweater. I haven't shown it for a couple of episodes, but I have made some progress on it. So in my first episode, I talked about this lovely thing. This is my Birch sweater. Turn it around the right way. So this is the Birch sweater. It is by Pam Allen originally. It was then published by Quince & Co. in a collection called 11 Everyday Knits, I think. But again, all the links will be down below. My best friend picked this out. She wanted a jumper. I'll go back to the beginning. I started knitting her a Ranunculus, and it was really lovely, but I just completely lost my mojo on it. And actually, we talked about it, and I said, would you like me to finish it? And she said, well, there are probably other patterns I would wear more. So we agreed I would frog that one, and then she chose a different pattern to make. And I bought yarn especially in kind of colours that I knew would be beautiful for her. So this is muted in. The purple colour is Variget. Sorry to any Swedish people if I am butchering these names. And the coral is Sinen. And it's really pretty. I think the colourwork's come out. It looks quite wavy right now because it's not blocked, but I think it's come out really nicely. And I have a finished sleeve. A finished sleeve. It looks absolutely bonkers because the pattern, this is the only alteration, by the way, that I've made to the pattern, is that Monica prefers to have sleeves that are straight all the way down and then rapid decreases to make a little bit of a balloon sleeve. And then I switched, so I'm knitting this on 4mm needles, and I switched down to 3mm needles and did 20 rounds of 2x2 ribbing at the end. So all I did was, so I've got my silver markers are all my 10 rows of decreases, and then when I got to here, I did 15, it's not 15 rounds total. I think I did 8 rows total, 4 rounds of decreases, so alternating each time, and I decreased every 5 stitches to rapid decrease down to, I want to say it's like 30 stitches, so it is quite skinny on the end. I've tried it on. You can get it. It's like a little bit of a challenge to get it over your hand, but then it sits really perfectly on the wrist. So that's kind of the point, and it will also stretch out over time, which I know to be true from my my tulip sweater. So Newton does grow when it's blocked, and it also does stretch out a little bit over time. So if you're thinking about knitting with it, it's worth noting that. I suspect the colourwork probably won't stretch out quite as much as my tulip because it's a tighter gauge than the tulip, but yeah, if that's something that you would like to know, there you go. I love knitting with it, really enjoying it. My husband absolutely hates really rustic wool, so for him this is like, oh, he touched it yesterday and just went, oh no, it's too scratchy. I'm not sensitive to wool at all, and I know that Monica isn't particularly either, but I've also made sure that the neckline isn't too tight, because that's kind of the one place that I suspect it might be a little bit sensitive here. Yeah, so I've made the neckline, made sure the neckline doesn't hug in too far, which is as per the pattern. And then yeah, picked up my second sleeve, so I just need to get the second sleeve done, and it will be, then I can block it and it will be done. So I love this thing, love it, very proud of it. Yeah, so that's my birch sweater, and it's well on the way to being finished. I lost some mojo on it for a little while with the sleeves. I think because I was reknitting the body of my brother's sweater. Excuse me, keep losing my voice today. Yeah, I think while I was knitting the body of Adam's sweater, I was just like, no, I don't need to spend more time on jumpers right now. And this is also kind of in miles of stockinette at the moment because it's just round. So now that I've finished his jumper, I've gone back to the birch, and I'm really loving it. So that is work in progress number 1. Work in progress number 2 is my first sweater by Hive Knits. And I freaking love this thing. I love it. I love it so much. I know I keep talking about how much I love it, but I really, really do. So this is a new pattern, the first pattern, in fact, by Lizzie from Hive Knits, and it's honestly astounding. I am in such awe that this is her first pattern. So here it is in all its glory. So last time I showed it, I think I had just split the sleeves. Am I thinking that? So I just split the sleeves. It's rolling up a bit because it's on a cable and it's stockinette, but I have knit, I think, to where I want the body to end before the ribbing, but I'm not sure. I prefer my jumpers to be a little bit cropped, especially if there's like this big balloon shaped sleeve that is going to happen. I quite like for my jumpers to be a little bit cropped in the body, just so there's some balance. But I'm not entirely sure, and so I didn't want to finish the body and bind it off and then realise that I wanted it to be longer. So I have put the body on hold, so it's just got my little Chargy stoppers there. It's on hold for now, And then I picked up one of the sleeves and I'm just cracking through it. I will say, it is a slow stitch. Half Fisherman's Rib is a slow stitch. I knit pretty quickly, not like amazingly quickly, but I knit relatively quickly, and it is taking a long time. And I put a post out on my Instagram about it recently saying, you know, initially I was getting quite frustrated that it was taking a long time, mainly because I just really want to wear this. Like, I love it so much and I really want to wear it before it gets too warm to be able to wear it. But then I kind of reminded myself why I knit and how I knit, and I'm trying to be, especially with designing and things, I'm trying to be a bit more intentional and a bit slower and take my time. So instead of really trying to rush through it, I'm just trying to enjoy every stitch. And I really am, and I love it. I love it so much. So this is being knit out of Holst Garden Super Soft in the colour Granite, which is a really dark grey. And then the mohair that I'm holding with it is Drops in Ash Grey. So they make this really beautiful, super fuzzy, love it. And because it is being knitted in Holst, it's being knit straight from a comb. So, where is it? I'm knitting it straight off of this bad boy, which means, and it only occurred to me while I was setting up to do this episode actually, it means I can enter it into Crayobear's Cone Along, which is super exciting. I also remembered that I have a cone of the British wool, 100% British wool in the kind of bottle green, dark green colourway, from Woolly Knit. So if you enter the Cone Along with Woolly Knit, I think you get a double entry, so I'm going to try and do that. I'm not sure what I'm going to make yet because I would like to make a sweater, and I'm thinking I might just make a really basic top-down sweater with holding it together with mohair. So the one purchase that I have made yarn-wise this month is I bought some mohair from Knitting for Olive. I've never bought anything from Knitting for Olive before, but I've been thinking about it for quite a long time, and then with all of the conflict happening in Ukraine and the invasion from Russia right now, they Knitting for Olive have they put on a little kind of flash sale where they were dedicating all of their sales to relief efforts for Ukraine. So I figured I've been umming and ahhing about buying some mohair from them for a while to try it out, and now's a good time to do it. So I bought a slightest quantity of mohair in a useful colour that's going to go with my bottle green Woolly Knit cone. So at some point I'm going to try and make something with them. If I don't get to it before the end of the Cone Along, it's fine. I'm not that fussed. Like, it's fine. And I'd rather not have too many whips because it can get really overwhelming if I have too many. And now that I'm entering into the world of garment knitting, like, whips take a lot longer. When I look at them and go, oh, yeah, I need to get that off the needles. It's not like a pair of socks where it's a few days work to get them off the needles. It's a few weeks work to get them off the needles. So yeah, I'm trying not to overwhelm myself with too many new cast-ons. So yeah, those are my main whips. I have some others which I'm not going to talk about just yet because they're still very early stages of designs, but those are my main whips. And then we can go into the chatter segment. So if you're not here for the chatter, no worries, and thank you so much for joining me to see what I've been working on. And moving in, settle down, because we've got some stuff to talk about. So last time I talked through my yarn gallery, which is what I'm now going to call this little corner here, where I'm showing lots of skeins of different makers. I'm going to be calling it my yarn gallery. So I talked through that last time, and I talked about these two here, which is the Heather and Hops and the Whistle Bear, and that I wanted to try and make something with the two of them together. And I think I've thought of something to make, but I'm not going to talk about it until I've actually cast it on. But I will be referring it to it as a hug. And I caked up my first skein of the heather and hop, and I just wanted to show you it because look at this thing. Look at it. Oh, it makes me so happy. Yeah, it's just beautiful. And now that I've caked it up, my whole brain is like, oh my god, we need to knit with this right now. Still got bits of vegetation in it, which I love. Really enjoy yarns like this where you just, oh, it's so sheepy. It's beautiful. It's very rustic, it's very toothy. It's all the shades of like greys and browns and whites, and oh, it makes my heart sing so much. So yeah, I'm going to be making something using this, and I'm going to be holding it with the Cheviot Marsh in Heartland from Musselburgh. Not holding them together as in double-stranded, but I'm going to be using both of them in a project together. And I'm going to be referring to it as my hug. Yeah, very excited about that. So as and when I cast that on, I will let you know. Probably won't be until after I finish the birch sweater, but I'm very excited about it. So that is intention number 1. Intention number 2, and I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about this because I know everyone has knit a ranunculus, but there's a reason. Like, it's a beautiful pattern. It's a really great pattern. It's very Moorish. It's really, actually surprisingly beginner friendly, even though it's lace. And I knit one for myself. Right, I think it may have been the second garment I've ever knit. So I did the boxy, which I was wearing in my second episode. Yeah. So the boxy was my first ever garment, and then I hopped straight into the ranunculus train and went, oh, I think I could give this a go. And I had some old yarn from my mum's stash, possibly even my grandma's stash, I'm not sure where it came from, but yarn that's been kicking around in my parents' house for many, many years. And I nabbed a little bit of that so that I knew, it wasn't particularly precious. And I made this. So, this is, I think we can call it the mini ranunculus because it is minuscule. So to be clear, I knew nothing about gauge. I knew that I was knitting it on smaller needles than recommended, but other than that, I had no idea. It does actually fit me, like, width-wise, but, yeah, it's basically a crop top. So I did think about ripping out the ribbing, and I don't have any more of this yarn, so maybe adding another colour and ripping the sleeves back a bit and doing kind of a block. But the thing is, I just don't, with a lace yoke, I would probably want to rip it all the way back to where the lace finishes, and I don't love it enough to do that. So I'm going to leave it as is and maybe give it to a child to wear. I don't know any small children who are small enough to wear this, I don't think yet, but I have friends who have babies, maybe they'll grow into it at some point. Yeah, so I knit it, and I really enjoyed knitting it, and as I mentioned, I started another one for my friend Monica, and I just never finished it, and looking back on it, it's because I didn't love the yarn. In either case, I don't love this. This is some acrylic wool blend, and I remember that I used it in something else, which I then blocked, and the dye just bled all over everything else, and it was completely ruined a project, which was very sad. So yeah, it's just hanging out for now. But I want to make another one, and I want to make one in yarn that I really like. So I'm going to make it in this combination. So this, and it's going to be quite hard to see the colour Oh no, that's pretty good actually. So this is a cone of Holst in a colour name that I can't remember, but I'll put it on screen and in the show notes. Held together with my amazing yellow mohair from Attic Spin Dye, and I have 2 skeins of that. So this is not the right gauge or remotely the right swatch, so I will swatch for the Ranunculus specifically. But I love this colour combination. It's really pretty, it's really interesting. It's like kind of sagey green from far away, but it's definitely got a yellow hue, and it hits differently depending on the light. I just really, really like the combination. And the green from Holst is already really, really variegated, and there's a lot of colour depth in there. So yeah, really liking this. So I'm going to, once I've finished my Birch, I might wait until I finish my first sweater, because I feel like I need to put some time into that. And I'm really enjoying knitting on that, to be honest. It's not a chore at all. It's slow, but that's fine. So I might wait until I finish my first sweater, but I think this is going to be the next thing that I cast on. Definitely not until I finish the Birch, but we'll see. I might cast it on before I finish the first sweater. And then the last thing, which I've put over there, and you'll get it. So the last thing that I am planning to make is another Musselburgh hat by Isolde Teague. So I've made 3 Musselburghs before. This was my first one, and I love it. This is in recycled yarn from Ultimate Universe. As a side note, if you're anywhere near Bristol, Ultimate Universe is an incredible yarn shop, and also the name is one of my favourite things in the world. So go and see Kim in the shop and get some yarn, because it's amazing. She also teaches spinning, if you're interested. So this is recycled. So what she does is she takes like knitting cones and random yarns that have usually come from like people's attics and stuff like that. So we don't know what the fibre content is. Normally they're very, very, very thin, because they're meant for knitting machines, like tabletop knitting machines. So what she does is she then combines them into these amazing colourways. So it's probably going to be kind of hard to tell. Let's move this. Ooh, so it's going to be hard to tell, but this has actually got lots and lots of different colours in it. You can see that. There we go. The original colourway I think is called Thank You, and it's just this beautiful red, and I love it. It's very happy. If I have to take the dogs out on a cold day, it means I get to wear my happy hat. So I really love this. I have made a blue merino one for my dad, and I have made a smaller yellow one, which I made myself, and I made it too small. So I'm probably going to, again, donate that to a child. But yes, I really, really enjoy this. If you haven't heard about the Musselburgh, I mean, basically everyone's made one at this point. If you haven't heard about them, they are super lovely to knit. You cast on using a magic loop at one end, or a pinhole cast on, and then you increase, and then you get to the point where you've got your hat circumference, and then you just knit. If I undo this, I don't think I've sewn it together. No, I haven't. And then you just keep knitting all the way down, and then you finally decrease like you would in a normal hat, and then you fold them, so you kind of push one end inside the other, and then you have this beautiful hat. As I understand it, this pattern is based off a World War II knitted cap pattern, and the pattern from Isolde is amazing. So she's written it so that you can basically do it in any yarn at any gauge. So she shows you, and there are loads of charts about knitting a swatch and then working out what your gauge is from there, and then it gives you your numbers and what sort of stitch count you need to increase to, which is amazing. So highly recommend. It's a great pattern. As I said, I've made it 3 times. I have a plan to make it a 4th time using my handspun. So I'm going to lift this guy up. This is my e-spinner. It looks really dusty, I'm sorry. It is really dusty. It doesn't look really dusty, it is really dusty. This is my e-spinner. It is the electric eel wheel from something robots. So terrible, I can't remember. I'm really awful with names. You might have got that. I'll put it in the show notes. But I was really interested in spinning. I did some drop spindle and I just I couldn't get into a rhythm with my drop spindle, but I could see the potential of it. So I decided to save up for an e-spinner. So I got this last year, and most of the parts are 3D printed, which like really speaks to the scrappy engineer in me. And yeah, it's amazing. It's pretty quiet for an e-spinner from what I mean, I can happily do this while I'm like watching a film or something. And the yarn that I'm creating is this here. I will again I'll put some photos in for you so you can see it better. But this fibre is John Arbon, and it was gifted to me as part of our wedding present from Kat and Alex, so Kat from Heather and Hops, and I love it. It's beautiful. It's called Red Midnight, I think, is the name of the fibre. It's 100% merino, and I have 200 grams of it, so I don't have enough to make like a sweater quantity, but I have a fair amount to do a few things with. So I spoke to my husband and I said, you know, what would you like me to knit you anything? He's got a fair amount of hand knit socks now, but I wasn't sure if he would maybe want a garment, a jumper or something like that. And he essentially said, I'm not really that fussed about the jumper. He doesn't really wear knits very much, so he's more of a t-shirt guy. So I said, yeah, cool, fine. And how about a beanie? And then he said, oh yeah, actually I'd really quite like a beanie. Black and red are like his brand colours, basically. Like if he had a proper personal brand, it would just be black and red everything. So it seemed very fitting to use black and red fibre in a hat for him. So I'm going to, this is my singles. So this is 50 grams of singles at the moment. I need to spin up the other 50 grams. And then I'm going to make him a Musselburgh hat. I'm hoping that I'm aiming for like a fingering to sport weight, which I think I'm going to manage, actually. Which if I do, I'm going to be really proud because it will be the finest spin that I've done. So yeah, this bobbin is now complete. I'm going to be spinning up the other bobbin and plying them into a 2-ply fingering to sport weight, to make a Musselburgh hat. So I'm really, really excited about it. Yeah, I'm going to put this over here so I don't knock it over, which I probably will. Okay, the light is officially going now, so I've only got one more thing to talk about, which is a yarn adjacent purchase. So as I mentioned, I'm doing my first sweater in dark grey yarn, which if I'm knitting during the day in this kind of daylight, fantastic, but most of the time when I'm knitting in the evening because I have a full-time job, and then I work until pretty late in the evening, and then I'll have some dinner, and then I'll be knitting. So it's usually dark with artificial light, and I'm someone who really hates sitting in like very, very bright overhead artificial lights. I've kind of a thing about it. So that makes it very difficult to work on dark yarn at night. So I bit the bullet and I got myself a boob light, as they are affectionately referred to among the crafting community. This one was just a recommendation from a friend. It's called Lux Jet. It was from Amazon, which I try not to buy too much from, but it was one of those things that was going to be really hard to try and source from anywhere else. So it It has like flexible arms so that you can point the lights in different directions, and then you put it around your neck and you turn the lights on and you can see what you're doing. I'm not going to turn them on because they're really, really bright. And there are 2 different colour settings, like different warmth settings, so you can make it like really, really cool light or warm or a bit warmer. And it's also rechargeable, so I got one that didn't need external batteries to help it last a little bit longer. So yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. My husband cannot stop making fun of me about it. Every time I'm wearing it and he comes in and I'm sitting in my knitting chair with this light on, he's just like, such a dork. And I am, and I don't care. So yeah, that is my latest purchase. So I haven't bought a ton of things really, but as I said, I've got my mohair from Knitting for Olive, and my little boob light are my my latest acquisitions. And I'm hoping by next episode I will have finished the Birch sweater, so I'll be able to show you that in all its glory. And I'd really like to finish it soon because I want to finish it before I next see Monica, so I can give it to her, because that'd be great. It's only a couple of years late, it'll be fine. So yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry I'm a bit rambly today, but yeah, the world is a strange place right now. I was umming and ahhing about whether I should record, but the last thing I wanted to talk about was the overwhelming response that I've had to both this YouTube channel and my Instagram, and just what I'm putting out into the world in general. It's been more than I could have ever imagined, and really, really humbling, and I'm so grateful to everyone who has reached out and made added a comment to a YouTube video, or asked me a question, or sent me something on Instagram, because as I said in my first episode, I owe the knitting community a lot as far as what it's done for my mental health during the pandemic, and I'm sure it will be an important part of my life for many, many years to come. And I think that it provides an important space for many of us, those of us who aren't full-time knitters and who maybe aren't doing it in any kind of monetary way. It's an escape, and an important one. And I think right now these pockets of joy and inspiration and thoughtfulness and compassion are more important than ever. So I decided I was going to film, because I think that if I can help make one person's day a little bit better, then right now that's probably quite a powerful thing. And I'm really grateful that I get to help contribute to the joy of the knitting community. So I hope you're all safe and well. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you in the next episode, and let's move slow and make things.